Assalamu alaikum. This is Btv-Chattogram welcoming you to the English news from Btv-Chattogram. Let's begin with the top stories. Cabinet approves Bogora University Gambling Prevention, Narcotics Control and Public Examinations Crime Act 2026. SSC and HSC exams of all education boards to be conducted on common question paper, informs Education Minister. Healthy social culture key to civilized society, Commons Information and Broadcasting Minister. State Minister for Foreign Affairs calls for strong global action to uphold international humanitarian law and repatriation of Rohingyas in United Nations. Uncertainty arises again following signing of ceasefire agreement between US and Iran. Viewers, those were the top stories. Now moving on to the details. The Cabinet yesterday gave in principle approval to the draft of the Gambling Prevention Act 2026 at its 10th meeting chaired by Prime Minister Tariq Rahman. The Cabinet meeting was held at the Cabinet Room in the Jatiyo Shongshud Bhavan yesterday evening. The draft of the law was placed by the Ministry of Home Affairs. The Cabinet subsequently granted final approval to the draft law subject to vetting by the Legislature and Parliamentary Affairs Division. The Cabinet also gave final approval to the draft of the Public Examinations Offences Amendment Act 2026, which was placed by the Secondary and Higher Education Division. The provisions of the law included a maximum punishment of 5 years imprisonment and a fine for committing digital manipulation and stricter penalties and fines for organized examination fraud and the formation of cheating syndicates. The Cabinet also gave in principle approval to the draft of the Bogora University Act 2026 proposed by the Secondary and Higher Education Division. The move is aimed at promoting knowledge, research, and development of skilled human resources. The Cabinet approved the draft of the Narcotics Control Amendment Act 2026. The Ministry of Home Affairs placed the law in the Cabinet, which stated that the Narcotics Control Act 2018, amended in 2020, was enacted to control narcotics, reduce supply and demand, prevent abuse and smuggling, and provide treatment and rehabilitation for drug addicts. The Cabinet granted final approval to the draft of the Narcotics Control Amendment Act 2026, subject to vetting by the Legislative and Parliamentary Affairs Division. Education and Primary and Mass Education Minister Dr. A.N.M. Ehsanul Haq Milan has said that if the education system is properly implemented in this densely populated country, Bangladesh will emerge as a global leader in the near future. He made the remarks today while speaking as the chief guest at the incoming Leaders Training Seminar organized by Rotary Bangladesh. Central leaders of Rotary Bangladesh, along with members from all levels of the organization, were present at the event. On the occasion, the minister said that Prime Minister Tariq Rahman has taken steps to further strengthen and expand the education for food and education for stipend programs that were initiated by Begum Khaleda Zia. Information and Broadcasting Minister Zohiruddin Shahpur inaugurated a fruit festival at the premises of the National Press Club. He formally opened the festival in the morning. Speaking at the event, the Information Minister said that factionalism and fierce competition aimed solely at capturing power and treating it as a form of entertainment cannot be considered a standard of civilization. Rather, even a small initiative like a fruit festival can play a far more significant role in society. He called for the festival to be expanded from the national level to the grassroots level in order to strengthen genuine harmony among people. Leaders of the press club, along with club members and their family members, were present on the occasion. Information and Broadcasting State Minister Yasir Khan Chaudhary has said that the current government places the highest priority on humanitarian activities. He made the remarks today while speaking as the chief guest at a ceremony in Mymensingh where financial assistance was distributed among 50 families affected by road accidents. On the occasion, he said that a single road accident can become a source of lifelong grief for an entire family. Therefore, he emphasized the importance of increasing awareness at both the government and individual levels to prevent road accidents. At the event held at the District Administration Auditorium, checks ranging from 3 lakh to 5 lakh taka were handed over to the members of the affected families as financial assistance. Invited guests and local leaders and activists of the BNP were also present at the program. State Minister for Foreign Affairs Shongbad Islam has called for stronger global action to protect civilians, uphold international humanitarian law, and ensure sustained international support for the safe and voluntary repatriation of Rohingyas to Myanmar. Speaking at a high-level panel discussion during the ECOSOC Humanitarian Affairs segment at the United Nations headquarters in New York on Thursday, the State Minister stressed the need for greater accountability for violations of international humanitarian law. She underscored the importance of increased investment in conflict prevention and stronger coordination among humanitarian, peace, and development actors to address growing global crisis. Expressing concern over the increasing prevalence of digital harassment, disinformation, and cyber abuse targeting women and girls, she reiterated Bangladesh's call for establishing a global platform to address technology-enabled violence. The State Minister voiced concern over funding cuts affecting Rohingya women and girls and warned that shrinking humanitarian support could further aggravate vulnerabilities within the displaced community. Reaffirming Bangladesh's position on the protracted Rohingya crisis, she said that safe, voluntary, and dignified repatriation of the forcibly displaced Myanmar nationals to the homeland remains the only sustainable solution to the issue. On the sidelines of the event, the State Minister met Dr. Nguyen Minh Vu, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Vietnam, and discussed issues of mutual interest. The government has taken a major initiative to ease a traffic jam in Dhaka by relocating 4 inter-district bus terminals outside the capital. Prime Minister Tariq Rahman directed the authorities concerned to move the terminals as quickly as possible. Under the plan, the Fulbaria Gulistan bus terminal will be shifted to Karaniganj. The Mohakali bus terminal will be temporarily relocated to Purbachal before being moved permanently near Tongi. The Gaptoli terminal will be moved to Himayatpur, while the Saidabad Jatrabari terminal will be relocated to Kanchpur. Residents and bus terminal authorities welcomed the decision. They think it will reduce traffic congestion and make travel within the capital more organized and convenient. Speaking at a dialogue organized by the Bangladesh Secretariat Reporters Forum at the Secretariat on Thursday, the Road Transport, Railways and Bridges Minister said people would see significant improvements in Dhaka's bus terminal and traffic management systems within the next 40 to 6 months. Meanwhile, the Dhaka South City Corporation administrator said work was already begun to implement the Prime Minister's directive. Now, international news. A new round of direct talks between the U.S. and Iran have been postponed after Vice President J.D. Vance delayed a planned trip to Switzerland. The White House announced Thursday that Vance would not be traveling to the talks and said the logistics had not been simple or predictable. It comes a day after the U.S. dropped its naval blockade of Iran after the two countries signed a deal aimed at ending the conflict. While the deal also said fighting should end in Lebanon, the country's health ministry said said Israeli strikes had killed at least 18 people in the south overnight. Israel's military said it had targeted the Iran-backed group Hezbollah and that 4 of its own soldiers had been killed. The U.S. has dropped its naval blockade of Iran after the two countries signed a deal to end the war in the Middle East. U.S. Central Command confirmed the end of the blockade on X in accordance with the president's direction and said some U.S. vessels would remain in the general area. Soon afterwards, Iran's Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei said that he had approved the deal with the U.S. despite having a different view without elaborating. He said he allowed it to go ahead after assurances from Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian that he would protect the rights of the Iranian nation. Khamenei has said President Trump has, out to desperation, used all kinds of leverage to bring the deal about. "35 people have been killed after a gunman struck Niger's largest airport," officials say, the second attack in less than 5 months. Niger's defense ministry said the fatalities comprised 22 assailants, 11 soldiers, and 2 civilians. Thursday's violence settled by mid-morning, and security officers and forces have since launched a manhunt for any remaining attackers. Authorities said alongside the 22 attackers that were killed, another 4 were wounded. They added that 20 suspects have been arrested. A large cache of weapons, including RPG-7 launchers, AK-47 rifles, explosives, grenades, communications equipment, and thousands of rounds of ammunition were also reportedly seized. Now, sports news. Australia won the second T20 by 7 runs against Bangladesh at Chattogram, securing an unassailable 2-0 lead to seal the bilateral T20 series. Powered by a spectacular knock from Matt Renshaw, who smashed 89 runs off 52 balls, and an aggressive 57 from Tim David, Australia posted a formidable total of 196 for 5 in their 20 overs. Nasum Ahmed was the pick of their bowlers for Team Bangladesh, taking 2 for 27. In response, the host put up a valiant fighting effort spearheaded by Saif Hassan's 42 and Parvez Hussein Iman's brisk 36. However,